What's going on, guys? Give it a few more minutes and then I'm gonna get it started. What's going on, guys? All right. Yeah, man. Marcus today was crazy. Yeah, especially at the end, like literally at the end, that's where we was being able to take advantage of everything. But looking to see if this does continue over New York session. That's just going to be very interesting moving forward. Just end the stream. Y'all guys can hear me okay? Y'all shouldn't be able to hear the news in the background. You should be able to hear me. All right, awesome, awesome. What's up, guys? How was y'all trading session? All right, so we're just going to start this off with U.S. equities. Okay, so you could just see today how Nasdaq and S&P literally the numbers because everything is planned. Like before we used to see he used to come out with comments that was after 4 p.m. This is what I was saying before. Literally, he does it on purpose because it's not documented, right? When the markets end at 4 p.m. So usually we don't see these type of numbers when the stock markets was literally crashing, right? For the past few days. You don't really see it. Just try to like document it. All the movement is coming from Asian session. So him doing this definitely a part of the plan, as we all could see. Yeah, you had a blue day, perfect, 100%. Yeah, it is funny. It's crazy. It's crazy shit, you know. But it's easy for us because we get an idea, right, when it comes to trading for the rest of the sessions. Now we have a overall direction. So for those that don't know, we had a risk on market today. Equities ended up at the highs because he announced a 90-day pause when it comes to tariffs. And now looking at the equity markets, right, you could just see, just look at these moves. It was just the market structure was just amazing. You know, the breaker structures, like hopefully you guys could look at the charts and tell me like where did y'all enter if you entered equities pushing higher. I took buys on Nasdaq, but definitely was a really good session, you know, just really easy trades. Hopefully you guys was able to take advantage of it. If you guys want to see the charts, you could just go to my YouTube. Yeah, Nasdaq, yeah, great movement. Yeah, it was pretty easy. Just had to wait for those opportunities. And what I'm trying to get most of the people to understand, you know, like if you was paying attention to my course or just learning about risk sentiment, it's going to give you really good opportunities taking advantage of this. Yeah, like you say you took buys on oil, you took shorts on gold at the same time. Yeah, good job. Like I'm looking at gold now. I'm gonna get into that afterwards too. But yeah, really good job with oil. I think that was a really good. Yeah, that was a good trade. That was a really good trade. I should have took advantage of oil too. I've been waiting for that opportunity. You took loans on Nasdaq. Yeah, it's very good, easy. So now just moving forward, right? So these are like the headlines that came out today that pretty much moved the markets, right? So because I understand when it comes to news headlines, it's just a lot of noise, but you just want to just pick out what's really important so that you just don't get lost, right? So obviously the 90-day pause, like when he said that, that was just really the no brainer right there. And then what he also said too is what we have to pay attention is he is still raising tariffs on China to 125%, and that was effective immediately. So it's still a possibility that we're going to see tensions with China continue. So we still, getting those mixed headlines, which I can understand when people was like, these are mixed headlines, like I want to stay away. I definitely understand where you're coming from with that, but the market's been moving only specifically because tariffs was implemented, and this is what was causing the recession, and just want to show you guys because we can also talk about this too. All right, you guys hear me in the chat? Yeah, you should hear me. Even when Wayne was talking about what Trump was doing behind closed doors, I think definitely the bond markets was definitely a fear of his, especially to the White House, the bond markets. I personally thought it was going to be involved in China, but it's like he's putting the war against the US, you know. So these hedge funds and institutions that definitely got involved in this because literally when I'm gonna show you guys when the banks actually started taking advantage, they started going on TV, right? And when that happened, it was the chair for JP Morgan. When he actually went on TV, he actually came out and said that these guys are acting up. So this is why I chose to pause tariffs. And plus, we have Goldman Sachs coming out saying that there's going to be a recession. So he's literally paying attention to these guys. And I think the whales of the markets are the reasons why he's pulling back from that. But we still have to see what happens, right? But at least we have a direction in the markets, which makes it a lot easier for us. But yeah, like good job for you guys that took advantage of the buys. How can you access my channel? You could go to my bio. You could go just Yeah, I didn't put the link up there, but you can just type in my name on YouTube. I should be live. So just to continue with the update with these headlines so far. So you can just see that he's planning to do this for a short period of time, right? When it comes to the pause and tariffs. So what does that do for us is now we know in order for equities to continue to push lower again, if he just pushed tariffs back onto the markets. The thing is, he's just so unpredictable. He could do that tomorrow, right? And that will probably cause a lot of turbulence in the markets. So hopefully we could see how things go moving forward, right? But these headlines on tariffs is still what's going to drive the markets moving, drive the markets until Asian, London, and then the next New York session. We all have to understand he's going to come out and say all of these comments again. So it's annoying, but it's about understanding how to take advantage of it. So now at the market update over Asian session, there's no important data, but focus on the continuations of a risk on market. So that's probably going to be the driver, but most likely after, I would say, 9 p.m. Eastern when Asia Pac open, all the banks and all the Asia Pac stock exchanges open. That's where we get a lot more volatility during Asian session. And I know I don't like the volume neither, but that's where you could probably look for some good scalps in the equity markets. Also, probably gold could give up really good opportunities moving forward. London session, no major data. So same thing, what I said about Asian, use that for London. New York session, now we got CPI. So the fact that we have inflation coming up, understanding what the Federal Reserve is actually paying attention to, they understand that inflation is already looking to hit towards their target. This is why they've been cutting rates. But with the tariffs coming in place, they're afraid that we're going to have a short-term rise of CPI. We're going to have a short-term rise of inflation, but not really their major focus. So I don't really expect inflation tomorrow to be that much of a big deal unless we have such a number that is impossible for us to ignore. That's the only way I could see that being a really good opportunity. So jobless claims we also have at 8:30 as well. We get that every week, but we understand that labor data is a main focus. Okay, so we got economic data tomorrow, but news headlines like when it's coming down to tariffs, especially what's going on with China, how is China going to retaliate next? That's what's really moving the markets. Mostly economic data. We focus on that at 8:30, probably to see what happens for the next hour after the data. If we don't see no real moves, then we just have to wait until we get those headlines regarding tariffs. All right. So if you guys have questions so far, about the markets or anything that you're confused about, right now is a really good time. All right, guys. What advice you could give a trader that struggles trading too volatile markets such as today? I mean, it just depends on if you understand what's going on, right? So yeah, like the markets is volatile, but if you understand how to take advantage of it, this is what you want to take advantage of because it makes it a lot easier for us to look for good trades. The thing is, it's volatile if you don't understand how to take advantage of it. Because as you can see, like looking above, like most people, they took buys, right? So they took buys on equity. So a lot of people understood how to take advantage of it. But if you don't, definitely just send me a message and I can help you out. All right. So now just looking at gold, right? Just looking at price action, because overall, I still like the buy structure that we have. As long as market structure remains above 30-40, technically, we're still in bullish market structure. And with the China situation, this is what set off the buys over Asian session yesterday was when China started those escalations, imposing more tariffs in the US. So that's when we got that break of structure. So right there is showing us that gold is paying attention to what China has to do, right? So now looking at gold pushing higher, and then look what happened. We only got this little bearish move when Trump announced the 90-day pause. So even gold itself is telling us that it is focusing more on China escalations, right? because it'll be interesting to see today if we could see gold push lower, like pretty much after 9 p.m. Right? I would I would like to see any breaks below 3070. That's a good area of market structure to see if we could break that support. Then to me, it's a higher probability we could at least go to 3050 or 3040. Then I would say that, okay, we can see that gold investors are moving out of gold as a safe haven and pushing lower because of the 90-day pause. But if we continue to see gold break above these highs and we could stay above 3100, that is telling me that the fears with China and the retaliation with the US, that's going to be a main focus. So waiting for a break of structure, most likely at 9 p.m., that's when the Asia Pac market opens again, could get a little more volatility. If we don't have it, just be patient. The worst case is trading through consolidation. And I don't want you guys to be caught up in that, up in that bullshit. Let me see. Are you monitoring Donald Trump's Twitter for um yeah, I pay attention to, like, it's important for that because I pay attention to his Truth Social, and it's right here. I would have never trusted it if I would have never saw this come from his actual account on Truth Social. And it's very hard for him to be like, my account got hacked, because this is his actual platform, right? So he actually said it here, about the 10%. So that's the reason why I took the buys on equities, because I saw that it actually came from his account in Truth Social. If it comes from X, usually they just copy and paste it from Truth to X. So they could, if we don't see it on Truth Social, it's very hard to believe it, like what they did yesterday, where they said the same exact thing yesterday, and then they said it was fake news, right? So that was the first thing that came in mind. That was a little reason why I had such a late entry, was because I didn't believe it at first. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you thought the same thing. When you saw that headline, it was like, this is complete bullshit. But that's why I waited for that opportunity. And we say, I like what the market start focusing on economic data and monetary policy. Yeah, me too, Kerry. I'm expecting. I was thinking probably around May, but with all of this going on, it's going to be hard to predict when the markets is going to focus on data, but it's usually growth, right? You want to focus on GDP, the labor data. That's usually the main focus, because markets want to see if we get a recession or not. Let me see. What's up, Sonny? A little confused, but what I know, you spoke to the group. Since he backed off, tariff equities went up. Safe havens good went down. Let me see. Still a little confused. Yeah, yeah. So when he announced tariffs, I was speaking to the group before, right? Where we understood that when he was implementing tariffs in other countries, it was bad, right? So we saw that equities was pushing lower. So when he actually did a pause, you understand that's, oh, well, that should be positive for the markets, right? So that's where you could have a direction. So sentiment is what's important. But the safe havens, like the yen, was a good option. AUD was a good option. Like AUD got stronger, the yen got weaker. So those are good options. All right. Gold right now, like I just explained, gold pushing up higher. I believe that gold hasn't dropped because of the escalations with China. So now, if we see de escalations with China, that's most likely when we're going to be looking for downside in gold. So that's the only thing I would be looking for. So now we should be focusing on news releases on China. I believe so. I think that would be a really good option. So far for now, yeah, like especially over this Asian session after the call, probably between 8 and 11. Try to be prepared for those headlines with China to see what they do next. Yeah, I'm glad that you learned a lot from the course. All right, so I'm gonna just leave it at that, guys. Market update. So when it comes to equities, right? We got an impulse. So I'm gonna just show NAS, US 30, S&P is mostly the same price action. So typically when we get an impulse, right, we now have to wait for a correction. So either we're going to see a pullback in structure, or we're going to see sideways price action, right? So we have to wait for either or to see if we could get continuations pushing higher, or we're going to start seeing the whole market just continue to push down. So those are the things that we have to pay attention to, in order to enter the trade again, because you just don't want to start entering at the highs. You don't know what's going to happen here, right? So you just want to wait for consolidation. Something like in the past where we got sideways price action, and then once we start breaking above structure, you take your buys. But once we start breaking below support, then you got a better idea what the markets is going to do, because most people like to enter too early, right? And that's the problem. Your opportunities was when the headlines came out. You don't want to enter now when it's already an Asian session and Trump is already in bed, right? So the next opportunity is waiting for China. Let's see what they say about the markets, okay? And then that's going to be a good opportunity moving forward. Where do I get the headlines? Yeah, like you could go on Twitter and you could just type in their names. Usually on Twitter, you can find everything here. But this is what I got with the news feed. So this is how we just stay up to date with all the news. You could just see here. We got the secretary news is all out. Like every time they speak, we just get all the headlines. Especially I got the PIQ news feed. So you get the description of the news, and when you click it, you get the full story. So yeah, you just got to follow it. It's not hard to get information like that, but it's just when the news come out, you want to be able to take advantage of it. All right. Yeah. Good job, guys. Yeah, I'll show you the screen. One sec. All right, guys. So it makes sense. So yeah, you could go on Twitter if you want, or you could also like Twitter. You could put in financial juice. Like they give headlines there on X, and there's a few others that does it. You know. But personally, me, what I do, I have Reuters, so I get all my news headlines right here. So this is where I get all my news headlines. It's just like a few seconds quicker. That's all. But all right, guys, have a good one. If you have any questions, just message me.